It's all about genetics. Oh, maybe it is genetics. But if it's genetics, whatever outcome she has, she should have the same outcome because they're genetically the same. Why is his hair like that? Why is my hair like this? Look at my hair. I mean, not that I'm going bald, of course, right? But why is it straight? And why is his really tightly curled? Any ancestors you had going back 40,000 years, 30,000, who look like me? They're dead. They died. They didn't pass their genes on. It pulls the eyelid down a little bit further. So you see this eye called the Asian eye, and for you it's fairly pronounced, not super pronounced. But for me, I don't have the fold. I have a little crease there, and so my eyelid opens up more. So you're saying that me and Phil and Allshine are all in the same racial group. You assume that we must be as different internally as we are in our outer bodies, because it just makes sense that that would be the case. But it's really not. It's a very small portion of our genetic coding is really reflected in our external features. So nature's like a trickster. When you cease being European and you start being Asian, at what point in time? Where's the magical spot? You know, we have Europeans, we have Africans. When are you no longer African and you're actually in West Asia, which is the Middle East? Which one's Chinese and which one's Native American?
I don't know.
Come on, man, you're our expert here.
The right one, I think.
I'm gonna say the right one.
The right one is Chinese?
Yeah.
Yeah? Shreya?
I can't even tell.
Yeah? Okay, well here, Homo erectus, traveling around, go up here, we go this way, at some point get stuck here, and then at some point cross over the Bering Strait. So the people who are living here strand, not everybody, right? But they cross over here, and they come down into the Americas. The DNA of this woman here, she's Navajo. She's Native American. She's Chinese, okay? Han Chinese, which is the dominant ethnic group in China. So you don't see much of a difference. Go backwards. You don't see much of a difference because right here, in 25,000 years or so, more or less, there's not enough time for her, in that amount of time that we've populated the Americas, her genetic admixture hasn't changed at all. It didn't adapt in any way. So, okay, go forward. So, therefore, they look very much the same. They're the same. If we do genetic testing on them, they're largely the same. So then what's it mean? She's American, she's Asian. So hold that in your minds. She's American, she's indigenous to the Americas, she's Asian here. Now, we have all these racial groups. We have the Americans, Native Asians, two completely separate parts of the world. They're the same people, okay? So when we're talking about genetics, think about this, we talk about genetics, and the genetics of groups and genetics impacting human behavior. Understand that these women right here, they're genetically the same. So whatever is happening on the Native American reservation, remember, she's making, on average, on her reservation, 8 cents to every dollar that white people make. 8 cents to every dollar, that's her. So you think, what's wrong with Native Americans? Maybe that's their DNA. Maybe it's something here. Maybe, what's going on with them? It's all about genetics. Oh, maybe it is genetics. But if it's genetics, then whatever she does, whatever outcome she has, she should have the same outcome. Because they're genetically the same. I'm open to every idea. There's not a single idea that I don't open my mind to and say, hey, maybe that's true. Maybe some groups are genetically superior to other groups. Let me explore that. Maybe that explains some of this. You got to be open. You have to, like creationism. Those of you who are, 100% into evolution, right? You think like evolution explains everything. Well, where's the first spark of consciousness come from? And those of you who believe in God and think that God created everything, where did God come from? You know, this is the mystery of life. It's a mystery. So it's all mystery. Just sit with the mystery. Where are they from?
Maybe Africa
All right.
area.
Tanner, how about you?
Yeah, I would also say some part of Africa.
Yeah?
Yeah, me too.
You're just following them. Take a wild guess, man.
Yeah,
You went third, so you know they're wrong. I wouldn't put it up there if I thought you would guess. So,
I don't know. Some south part of
okay,
Europe.
here.
I don't know.
Go back 3 slides. See that? Coming out of Africa, watch this. Arrow. Here, India. Okay. Coming down here. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hang on. Whoa. All these Africans coming here, here. Is it possible that there are different lineages? People didn't all come at the same time. So maybe is it possible that there's, whoa, how'd you get way down here? Like, whoa, look at that. So now, what do you think?
They can be from anywhere.
Yeah, they could be from anywhere, right? So they are all African. They're called. We refer collectively the Negrito peoples. Okay, Negrito because it's the Spanish, right? Negrito. It's not a racist term. It's not a racist term, by the way. Okay, it's what all the collectively speaking, all the people of sub-Saharan African ancestry that survived, like maintain with their genetic admixture, right? Their features largely intact because people change. There are different groups of people who survive. We refer to them collectively as negritos. So go back one, right? So here, they're from the Philippines. Down here, here's Philippines, southern Thailand, Malaysia, Papua New Guinea. We can go all the islands in there. We're going to find people who we collectively refer to as negritos, okay? So like, oh, they're Africans. They're African Asians. Oh, all right, hang on a second. Let's do the same question. So, genetic admixture in groups. They're Asians. So you see like how it becomes a problem when we start putting these words together that are supposed to refer to lots and lots of people. So why are our bodies so different?
Well, I feel like
look at like me and Alshine here, right? Look at us.
I feel like it has to do like partly with what genetics you took on.
Uh-huh.
I know like my mom told me this. I don't know if this is true, but I know like some people who live like in India still has like a darker skin tone than like people who live in America that have the same genetics or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's true though.
Okay, how about this? How about texture of the hair? Look at Oreo here. Look at him, look at me. Okay? Look at his hair. Why is his hair like that? Why is my hair like this? Look at my hair. I mean, not that I'm going bald, of course, right? But why is it straight? And why is his really tightly curled? Kinked, curled, just different things, right? They're two very different things. His hair isn't necessarily kinked or necessarily curled. It could be two very different things. Why? Do you have a sense of that? Do you know, by the way?
I'm
talking to the mic.
I was going to say genetics.
Okay, but why? Like, what is it? Like, why don't you have straight hair?
I mean,
Have you ever thought about it?
not really. I never really thought.
All right. Yeah, because it's just your hair.
I feel like people living at the north parts tend to have straight hair,
All right. Okay.
and people that live in the south part are not.
Well, what's hair do? I can ask you too. Like, what is hair? The hair's on the head. So what's it doing? Oreo and I go out in the sun. Okay, it's really hot. The sun is bearing down on us, really bearing down on us. We both go in the sun. Who feels the sun? Who's going to feel it more on their scalp? Me or Oreo? Me.
You.
Right? Me. I'm going to feel it. It's right. Look, not just because look at that. You can see my skin up there. Not just because of that, because he's got this other protection up here. We didn't wear caps. Go back 200,000 years. We're not wearing caps. We have no protection. We don't have sunscreen. We don't have caps. We have nothing. So all we have is our hair. You got your hair, I got my hair. Right? The hair plays a really important role because Bro, can I borrow your cap for a second? So if I have this, so if Oreo and I are out in really hot, sunny area, now we're the same. We both have protection. So I got this, so it's going to protect my head, right? Because the one thing you don't want to have happen, what happens when your brain overheats? Yeah, you have a heat stroke.
Yeah, heat
like
stroke,
it's
yeah.
incredibly dangerous. But you have natural protection because the heat, the sun isn't hitting your scalp in the same way. It's like your hair is taking the brunt of it. And the longer your hair, the thicker your hair, and the longer your fro. Like if you really pick it out, then you're really getting some protection. So if it's like up to here, man, you're killing it, right? But for me, I don't have that. And so what we tend to see hair is this thing that's very much associated with where our ancestors were, where they passed on their genetic markers to future generations. So whoever Oreo's ancestors were, and this is really important, what happens is his hair is really tightly coiled or sometimes kinked. You start kinking hair, it locks together. This is what locks are, you're locking it. Or if it's tightly coiled, if it's loosely coiled, then it's not gonna set up at all. But if it's tightly coiled or it's kinked, it's gonna set up. And the more it does, the more it really expands around your head and the more protection you have. And that's awesome. And so like what we know about him is his ancestors were living, going back if we could trace back, his ancestors remained in Africa or in a part of Africa that's where it really made sense for him to have tightly coiled or kinked hair. That's why he's here. If any ancestors that you had going back 40,000 years, 30,000, who look like me, they're dead. They died. They didn't pass their genes on. So for me, it wouldn't have mattered. Like you can be in the north and it doesn't really matter. But so you see that, right? So see how it's a good thing. Our looks are a good thing. When I look at differences in people, I look at their noses, I look at their eyes, I look at their skin, I look at their hair. All I see are ancestors. I don't see one's better than another. They're all just the way our bodies adapted differently to certain situations, okay? Do you have any idea why some people have really darkly pigmented skin and some people have lightly pigmented skin? You gotta have something. Do you not have anything? None of you?
Is it like the climate, like near the equator?
Okay.
Hot. It's
all
hotter.
right. And
It has more exposure to sunlight.
and how does that lead to different
So your body
pigmentations?
produces more it's more melanin, right?
Okay. All right. More melanin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In order to do what?
Better defend against the sun.
Dude, skin cancer is not a brand new thing. Skin cancer didn't just start back in the 1980s when people first started saying like, oh my God, you got to protect yourself from the skin. Wear all this lotion and stuff. Skin cancer's been around forever. We need UV rays because that produces calcium and folic acid, and it's really important for vitamin D, synthesizing vitamin D, the whole thing. We need sun's rays. But if you get too many sun rays, then you run the risk of the ultraviolet rays, and then this is a problem. It breaks our skin down, it turns into cancer. But what we see here is that, look, isn't it funny? The darkest, most darkly pigmented skins, on average, are right in here, right in this wave of the equator, okay? And as you go further north, it gets lighter. Why does it get lighter further north?
Because the sun's like the hottest at the equator.
Yeah, but why is it Why is it that I have light skin?
Because you don't have to involve black skin to defend the sunlight.
My body doesn't need to produce the melanin, which just happens to create a pigmentation that turns it darker. Okay? So my body doesn't really need that. And so, in fact, what my body needs is more sun. Like I'm in the northern part, the northern equator, I need more sun. Because I need that sun, I need those rays because I need folic acid, vitamin D, calcium, etc. So listen, what would you say to Alshine right here? We're headed into the winter time. look, his body is adapted for here, okay? But now he's living in the north. And then the winters in State College, you don't get a lot of sun. You need a lot of sun. So he needs to make sure he gets out in the sun. So like people with really light skin, we need to protect ourselves from the sun. People who are really darkly pigmented, you need those sun rays because you need the calcium and vitamin D and folic acid. You see how that works? We're going to do one more thing. The epicanthic eye fold. Do you know where that's from? Bro. So if you look right on the corner of his eye, which would be like right on the corner, and right on the corner of my eye, he has a fold where his eye pulls down right in the corner. Can you, bro, I'm not going to.
Yes.
Okay, right in the corner, okay? And what it does, because the fold, it folds the eye down around so that it pulls the eyelid down a little bit further. So you see this eye called the Asian eye, and for you it's fairly pronounced, not super pronounced. But for me, I don't have the fold. I have a little crease there, and so my eyelid opens up more. And so you have this thing. So I have like the European eye, and he has the Asian eye, right? And it's different for people in different places. And for some people, the fold is much more pronounced, and for other people, it's not. But see, it's not just the Asian eye. These are Khoisan people, right? They're Khoisan. And, she has a similar eye. She also has very lightly pigmented skin. Human beings share 99.9% of our genetic material. So where would you draw the boxes? I want you to make up different racial groups. Okay? So you have groups of people that all share the same genetic admixture, or a very large amounts of it. You have a group here, and a group here, and a group here. And first off, how many racial groups would you make? And for the home viewing audience or the classroom viewing audience, the same question for you. How many racial groups would you make out of here? How many are there? 3, 7, 13, 28, 150? Like how many racial groups are there? Shreya. All right, go ahead.
If it's by DNA, I would just say 1.
One?
Because isn't it everyone has the same DNA?
Okay.
Kind of thing?
What would the two of you say?
Like Sherry said, I would agree. If we're going strictly on DNA, I would also say 1.
All right.
Yeah, I will say yes. But anyway.
But look at us. But here, hang on a second. So you're saying that Alshine and I are in the same racial group? Good dude, stand up real fast. Hang on. And then Phil, right? Stand up real fast. So you're saying that me and Phil and Alshine are all in the same racial group. Dude, would you guys say that? The two of you said that.
Well, if you have the same DNA, then yeah.
Okay. Yeah?
Yes.
But we have 0.1%, we're not the same. So now what?
So it feels like you should not divide people into different groups because of that 0.1% difference.
Yeah.
I mean, like the appearance, like the skin color are only very, very little in your gene.
Okay. Nature is kind of like a trickster. Okay? It's like a trickster. Because the thing that you see, the external features, are a very tiny part of our DNA, but it's what we see. So you look at the three of us here, you assume that we're really different throughout our whole bodies. Our entire genetic code, the three of us, we have 3 separate genetic codes, right? Mix. You assume that we must be as different internally as we are in our outer bodies, because it just makes sense that would be the case. but it's really not. It's a very small portion of our genetic coding. It's really reflected in our external features. So nature's like a trickster. So people are fundamentally the same. Thanks, gentlemen. Thanks. All right? We're fundamentally the same. Okay? So this is what's really important. So therefore, you're right. If we're going to come up with one group, it's just human beings. Homo sapiens is the singular group. In this attempt to divide us into meaningful categories of race is human beings' attempt to understand differences when we see those differences. Because when you see them, you want to just try to understand what that is, man. I look at the three of you, and I just want to know, like, what is it about you that's different? Because I see difference. I don't say, I do, right? I start to say it because I study this. It's like, wait, hang on. I'm only seeing these very tiny differences. His hair, it's just a tiny piece of the difference between, he and I are the same. It's because of differences in genetic admixtures, it's likely that he and I, and you got to remember this, because of genetic variation in Africa, it's possible, it's likely for certain that he and I are closer, genetically speaking, than the two of you are. And you think like, well, how is that possibly the case? It's because of variation that we don't see that. So like, but you see these, thanks man, you see these big differences. Or me and Yiji here, right? You just imagine, you're all so different. We're not different. We're fundamentally the same. When you cease being European and you start being Asian, at what point in time? Where's the magical spot? You know, we have Europeans, we have Africans. When are you no longer African and you're actually in West Asia, which is the Middle East?